Boards. Board. Board games, board games. It's what we're talking about. Board games, board games. We're not gonna shout. We are starting off this morning with a little bit of singing, and over the person that you see is a person known as LolV, and we've already got someone to tell us that we should shout like a noisy bus. And
Yes.
today we're talking about LARP. I don't know anything that rhymes with LARP, and this is where I break down harp. Oh, you could maybe play a LARP with a harp. You could play
Yes.
LARP about music. You could play LARP whilst wearing a tunic. You could play LARP about many different subjects. You could play LARP with absolutely no text. Board games and LARP, that's what we're talking about. Board games and LARP. We're not gonna shout.
Watch
Hey!
out. Yes.
Hello, Dina! Oh wow, hello, J Fool's Guards. It's lovely to see you all. And I am Bez,
Hello.
and in honor of everyone in Australia and New Zealand, it is approximately bedtime, and we are blethering about board games, although I should say that today yes, we are going to talk about how LARP relates to board games, but it's mainly just about what LARP is. And so it is the Bezzy bedtime board game bladder with LolV talking LARP.
Hello.
And we've got bits of love for LARP. Hello, J Fool's Guards loves LARP. And there's rain going on apparently in Finland. And
Oh, I love Finland.
I think that's where Dina lives. Remind me if I'm wrong. So we can you give us a quick 30-second to 1 minute explanation of what LARP is, please?
So LARP is a some. It's LARP is so many things. It's hard to summarize, but live action role play game, LARP in short, are an absolutely wonderful hobbies that can also become professional for some lucky people. Um, it's a lot of things. It's game, it's storytelling, it's a mean and a tool for education, for entertaining, for transformation. LARP is so much more than the sum of all its parts. It's amazing. So
Hmm.
it's improvisation. It's a bit more complex and free than theater. You
And
can wear costume, but you are not obligated. And sometimes there is a lot of things going on. You can have character written, but not all the time. And it can go from a few hours to a few days to sometimes months when you are engaging, for example, in letter LARPing.
there's so many different styles of LARP. There's buffer LARP where you're literally hitting other people with foam weapons, and hopefully they
Yes.
don't hurt too much. There's Nordic style LARP where it's a bit more about the emotional context. There's LARPs in a room. There's LARPs that happen over an entire town. There's LARPs that happen for a couple of hours. LARPs that last over, like Lolvi just said, quite often a weekend or even a week or a month. And there's all sorts of LARPs. And hello, Alan. Lovely to see you. And yeah, there's
Good
so
morning,
much
Alan.
to uncover. But let's move on to a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing. What's a
Answer.
little thing which is brilliant? I did not ask you to tell me about a brilliant thing before we started, LolV. Would you like to nominate one, or should I?
I can
I'm,
try a brilliant thing.
I'm
Postal
thinking.
card.
Pardon?
Like, um, postal card. I don't know.
Oh,
I forget the
postcards.
name.
Oh, the
Like that.
ones. Yes. I think I've got a postcard. Hold on, just. Oh, I can't find it right now.
I
It's
can show it
something that Tom
properly.
Aldrin sent to me. And so you've got one picture on one side and then the address, which presumably don't show it on camera, I was going to say, because you might not want to reveal your address. And
There
a
is
private.
nothing written on this one.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thankfully.
Just because it wouldn't be the first time that someone had accidentally done that. And so,
Oops.
yeah, postcards, it's a way of spreading, it's like cheap to send, but you've still got the physical tactility of something in your hands, a lovely handwritten message. You can even draw something
Yeah.
on it. Oh my gosh, I'm really. That reminds me, I do need to send Alan stuff. I'm very sorry, Alan. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, it is just a preview of the topic, just to explain. But yeah, postcards are brilliant, and let's hear it for postcards. Yay! Postcards.
Yay.
Now let's talk about games, 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 games. What have we been playing? What are their names? Games. So yesterday I didn't, and also Saturday I didn't do this section because oh my gosh, it's been such a weird weekend. Because Saturday I did not do a busy board game blether. It was the first time for over 100 days when I did not stream on my Facebook or YouTube because I was streaming on the UK Games Expo channel. But I hope that some of you might have seen that. I know that a lot of people watched in, and I'm really happy that lots of people got something out of it. I was basically just talking about how board game design is for everyone, and it's not just something to do if you want a game published, but you can make games for love, for all sorts of reasons, and why it can help you in your general life. Then yesterday I was just doing the State of Bez talk, which we decided maybe I shouldn't have done on a Sunday when I was already feeling a bit of pressure. Maybe I should have done it on a different day when it was, spacing the more serious talks out a little bit. Because, yeah, having that. Honestly, this is just a nice chat with someone that I love, and kind of all the people come in and we hear about LARP. But that was like, okay, let's get the notes down. But anyway, games that I have been playing. I'm going to talk about games for the last 3 days. So I've played quite a bit of Kitty Cataclysm solo. I've managed to win a couple of times. I'm quite happy about it. I'm managing to learn it again. Um, we played on Saturday. We played Flowers Over Towers, which is lots of these are going to be my games, admittedly, because I was doing a lot of demonstration for UK Games Expo. Whereas this is the one where I beat, I think, Jason and one, two, oh no, oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I did win. And then we played Giftable, which for me is always quite a bit of fun. We played, I think I'm missing something. We played, oh yeah, Kitty Cataclysm. We played so many games with Daniel and Chris, and Tom popped in for a wee bit. That was lovely. And yesterday we played Yogi Stock Guru, which you were there for part of that.
Yes.
And everyone was contorting. I think there's definitely some small tightening of the rules. I'm going to chat about that to Xate. We're hoping to submit it to Festival. I don't know what you think. Do you think that's a game that Festival might be willing to entertain?
I only know the LARP part of festival, but I do think you could totally fit there.
I mean,
Also
they
with a
do have the
community.
board game thing. I know that Magic Maze was part of Festival a while back. And yeah, so Dina's been playing Terraforming Mars and a role playing game, LolV in Kalevala, which is going to be
Love
sent to
for
Folklore Jam.
terraforming Mars.
Are you familiar with Folklore Jam, Volvi?
No, I'm not, but I'm going to write it down right now.
And yeah, J Fool's Guard says, yes, please do submit it. Festival loves all kinds of different stuff. And so Yogi Stock Guru, some people are playing Yogi, some people are traders. I was a trader along with LolV and Polly. And then we had only four contortionists. We had Tom, Jess, oh my gosh, who am I missing? Mandela
Jason.
and
Jason.
Jason, thank you. Oh my gosh, how can I forget Jason? Anyway, so these
Yeah, it
four
was
people,
a
and
board
Jason
game.
was the ultimate winner of the entire game. And so, yeah, this is it. I think that was the minimum player count, 7. It could probably go up to about 30 or 40. We would see, because you could have Sate and I were talking about have anyway, you can watch it. So it was a lot of fun. And then what? Oh yeah, Fable with Bez and Jason. For them, Jason was talking about how Fable is by far their favorite game, which is really interesting because I know there's some people who don't like Fable and Giftable and Phrasal, but Jason's saying, for me, Fable, Giftable, and Phrasal are my favorite games for the L deck. And for me, that's the kind of thing, like, games are for everyone. There's lots of games, there's a different variety of games for everyone. And for me, that's what the L deck should epitomize, that there are some meaty games that really get your brain working, that there are some games that are about creativity that some people don't like and some people do like. And what the final things we played? Oh yeah, 3 mil, 4 mil, and micro muckle. And by the end of that, my brain was totally dead. But I don't think I won any of. I think I joint tied with Andrew Dennison for one of the games. But yeah, we had those games, and Prey joined us, which was lovely. Anyway, so that was my weekend playing so many games, and yeah, it was really nice, even though it was actually, I think, playing to the camera and everything, it was also a bit exhausting by the end. It was definitely more exhausting than Best Day, which is an interesting thing. But how was it for you? Have you been playing many things this weekend?
I've played only Yogi Stock Guru, but the week before I was with friends in the forest, and so we played different board game. We played Kabuki, Double, Seven Wonders, and Yogi.
Oh, so not Yogi Stock Guru, actual old-fashioned Yogi.
Yes, because when we at some point we were in a board game shop, and my friend was like, "Hey, is this a game you talked to me about? You talked to me about?" I was like, "Yes, this is Yogi. One of my friend made it." And
Oh,
so my other friend, Lou, was like, "Yes, I'm buying this game because I trust your taste," and we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing Yogi. We had a lot of fun playing Kabuki, Seven Wonders. I did win the Seven Wonders,
oh, nice.
not by a lot of points, but I did.
I
I
love
thought
that
it enough, but
simultaneous
I did.
drafting in Seven Wonders. One thing I love about Seven Wonders is, the simultaneous action, the simultaneous drafting, but still there's actually a really deep game in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for Sushi Go, which is a fairly simple game. It almost feels like the simplest game that you could make with passing that has some strategic depth. It's like, okay, it's just enough to make some crunchy decisions that you can ponder over. But then Seven Wonders, like the first time you play it, it's one of those games where, like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but then I'm going to play it again. And then you play it again, and then you learn little combinations of things, and there's so much to uncover.
Yes, for me, I like it because this is a game where you can win in very different very different options. There is so much option in Seven Wonder. You can play You can play Battle and War. You can choose to play culture. You can choose to play science. You can build you wonder. You can expand, travel in other cities. There is so many extension in Seven Wonder. You know, Leader,
Mm,
Armada. There is so much to do, and there is lately maybe it was 2 years ago they add the face extension with religion and gods
mm,
for the dual version of Seven Wonder, and
yeah.
it's amazing. It's one of my favorite games. I love it a lot.
Yeah, it's a classic. And good morning, Alex. Lovely to see you.
Morning.
Now, I think if that's the end of the games we've been playing, moves on to recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights. Um,
Yay.
for me, I'm going to give. Okay, I guess the whole UK Games Expo was pretty cool. That was definitely a thing that happened. Um, yeah, it was amazing to see so many people tune into the UK Games Expo Twitch channel for my talk, and so many positive comments. Um, like, yeah, also just having been walking around and speaking to people on the phone and enjoying the evening and walking with Angie Han. And but I think I talked about all that yesterday because I did do recent highlights yesterday. But yesterday, my recent highlights were okay. I did do a little bit more of the push-ups, and I'm not very good at push-ups, but doing them to Flower by Moby, I decided okay, I'm going to get on my knees, for the easy push-ups where you don't have your feet down, you have your knees down, so you're kind of pushing up less weight. Now, I pushed up as much as I could for about maybe 40 seconds. And then I got on my knees and then I got almost to the end of the song and I was like, oh, now I need to collapse. And I did the same thing. It's Green Sally up, Green Sally down. It's like this folk song that Moby has turned into. It apparently comes from a children's song similar to Ring of Roses, but it's such a good song for working out. You listen to it, and if you manage to make it all the way through, I think it's 3 minutes 10 seconds, and for the sit-up version, I managed to make it to 3 minutes. So it was only 10 minutes away from the end. I absolutely just my body failed, but by the end of like even 1 or 2 minutes of this constant sitting up and pushing down, you feel like you've had a proper workout and it keeps you going. So that's a highlight. My other highlights was just having an interaction with kindness with one of my housemates, because sometimes there can be a lot of tension, especially when you know maybe not everyone is in the best mental health. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit in a better place, and also they don't want to go into it too much, but they gave me a lovely birthday present. It was very late because they've been in hospital for a while, and lots of love. They gave me this lovely message, which I'm going to probably keep forever, just to kind of take ownership of everything. And, we had some nice interaction yesterday where, okay, they asked to do a thing. I went out an hour later and did shopping, and then they showed appreciation. And having, that appreciation showed, I think it all comes down to we like to have gratitude. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
And so for me,
exactly.
sorry for making it intensely personal. I hope that hasn't made anyone uncomfortable. I don't think I've gone into any too many details for my housemate to be uncomfortable, but lots of love. And I hope that, yeah, that is my recent highlight of love, I guess. Um, we have Sate who says UK Games Expo was chaotic but fun. The best parts was hearing Dave lose us new board game songs that totally got stuck in my head. And or finally winning with Team Dark. Virtually Expo was a brilliant thing. And yeah, so thanks for the reassurance. And Carcassonne with super excited commentary. what are your recent highlights in as much or as little detail as you are comfortable sharing, LolV?
I think I'm okay sharing that. A few months ago, like 1 year ago, I stopped living with my girlfriend and I start living with roommates. And a few months ago, we decided to. She decided that she couldn't keep our cat because it was stressing her so much. So my cat went to live with my parents, who are actually living in the countryside. Of course, I was heartbroken, but at the moment, since my house, my own apartment was an LC, we had pests in our apartment, so I couldn't welcome my cat here with me, and I was very sad about that prospect. And I spent 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I spent a few days, and now the past week I went to my parents again, and so I spent a lot of time with my cat. And it can seem like it's not really important, but I really love my cat, and we had wonderful time together. We played, we talked together. Well, mostly I talked to my cat and he meowed back. He went to snuggle into my arm, and one night I went out to walk in the forest, and I said to my cat, "Come with me," and he didn't come with me, which was strange because he usually come with me for a walk. And I went back, and when I went back, it was a stormy night, so it was starting raining, it was starting getting dark. My cat was waiting in front of the door, lying on the ground, and he ran to me and he meowed to me very aggressively, like saying, "Why are you outside? It's raining, you foolish human. It's raining and it's night. Why are you outside?" So I get it into my arm and we went home. It was just so very nice. I love my cat.
That is a lovely, lovely story. Thank you very much for sharing. And yeah, I want to at this point remind everyone to feel free to comment along the way, ask any questions, especially anything that LolV might be well placed to answer. LolV obviously works in Ludotech and writes LARP, but today we are going to be focusing on LARP. And if I guess if you have any questions about ancient languages and archaeology, then they could also ask about that.
Yeah, it's been a while though, but I can still answer maybe two or three things.
But yeah, I would like to get to, and it's going to be super quick because you've already done this a few times. I'm going to get to the questionably quick
The quick
questions.
question.
So, are you ready?
I am.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm not ready. Okay, did you have breakfast today?
Yes,
When did you wake up?
6:30.
Oh, that's early.
Yeah,
Do you always wake up
yeah.
that early?
No, but this past month, I do wake up very early, between 6 and 7 most of the time. I think
What
it's because of my treatment for my chronic illness. It gave me so much energy that my body is like, the sun is rising. We should rise also.
what was the last thing you ate?
A biscuit.
Hmm. What is your favorite thing about me?
Oh, I love your voice
Oh,
so much. Like I feel your voice is very warm and it's like surrounding me, but in a good way. Like when you are talking, I feel like you
oh,
are giving me a hug. It's
oh, thank you
amazing.
very much.
Also, you're
And
a very creative person and very supportive. For things you have control of, because your voice you don't really have control on it.
And yeah, just because you are a mean, it was. Yeah, I'm going to ask some slightly. You are allowed to say pass to any of these questions. Um,
Okay.
and I am basing these off the personal. Like once you come here like 3 or 4 times, I just yeah, I am fishing for compliments. Absolutely. Um, what is your favorite thing about LARP?
um, I'm actually writing an article about that for Knut Punt. And doing a comics also for Knut Punt. But basically, I'm autistic, and in life, a lot of people said to me that I'm too intense or insane or too much. Never in love someone has said something like that to me. In love, my intensity is valued. People respect the fact that I have strong emotion, and it's actually an asset when you're playing some kind of very strong emotionally LARP,
Hmm.
like Nordic LARP are really a good environment for me. Nordic LARPs are really good for me, and it's really suit me well. So yeah, never in love someone has made me feel like I was too crazy or too autistic to do something.
That's a really good thing. And Dina says, I don't think anyone is ever too much. Um, but yeah, I think that when you're playing in LARP, there's always the more emotional, the more dramatic, almost the more fun it is, which is a lovely thing. Now, what's the last two or three LARPs that you played? Can you remember them?
Yes. Do you want to know about online LARP or physical LARP?
Let's say both. So just a quick 1 minute summary of each, not in too much.
Okay. So last three online LARP where I'm actually playing Lighthouse, which is a little LARP based on a forum where people are hunting paranormal activities, hunting or reacting to paranormal stories, and it's the ambience is very creepy, but we are a community that help each other fighting or paranormal trouble. But
Oh,
otherwise, the ambience is very creepy. Someone is watching you. Something is happening. Am I being cursed and stuff like that? It's amazing because it's also very vintage, online forum with everyone who have very little avatar. It's wonderful. Lighthouse by Riveting Lab.
so this is actually designed to be an online LARP.
Yes,
Okay, that's maybe something that we could explore in like 20 minutes or so, like the nature between them.
yes. Another online lab that I both run and play was Animus by Chaos League. It's a lab where you play a group, a circle of people who join to do an 3 day of online self therapy because they are experiencing uh, intrusive daydreaming during their day, and it's becoming an issue in their life, and so they've been on beta blocker, and now they are trying online self therapy. And of course, during that therapy, you need to be very vulnerable, reveal secrets, be close to one another, and a lot of things happen. But don't want to talk about it here in case the game is rerun. But it's
Okay,
an amazing
of
lab.
course, no spoilers.
Animus by Chaos League. And the other lab that I played a lab, another online lab called Are You There? It's an online lab about life after a virus killed most of the population in the last 100 and yes 120 days. Most of the population is dead, and we are using backup server to connect and find and try to find other women, human, not only women, to talk to. And it's a very sad LARP. I played through most of it, and my character end up uh, end up sailing for in search of other humans. So he had kind of an happy ending, but his girlfriend died during the LARP. She died because she went outside and she should have to join him, and them. My character was a them.
Mm.
Shoot them, and they also used he him pronouns, so it was okay. But sad ending, kind of sad ending. But she died. I sent the player playing the girlfriend and best friend. I sent a recording of me playing and singing on my guitar, and we said this was the last thing that she listened before dying. So it was very emotional love, very bittersweet, very stressful too, because this is the end of the world and you're sure you are going to die, or you might try to rebuild the world, but you don't know how. So
Mm.
this is
And I think that's one of the amazing things about LARP, that they can run the gamut of emotions from, you know, from a Shakespearean point of view, tragedy to massive comedy, and massive jubilation and celebration of the world, fantasy, realism. It can be literally any kind of story. Um, I want to ask, what's your favorite kind of? Do you prefer sad or happy? Would you say?
I don't think I'm strictly type 1 or type 2 fan.
Okay.
I like to explore both. I I enjoyed, for example, Just a Little Loving so much because it's a lab that the ambience is set in the 80s. We are celebrating three parties of 4th of July 3 years in a row, but we are in the middle of the AIDS epidemics and we are playing the gay, lesbian, and EP community that have been that have been struck heavily by the epidemic. So when the game advances, you lose friend and lover and family. So it's a game that is both draining emotionally by your sadness, your grief, but is you also build community, build your relationship, find love. So it was a bittersweet game, and I like that. I like when I play game. I mean, I'm looking for that kind of experience, like strong joy and intense sadness
Hmm.
intertwined. I
Do
don't know
you
if I'm making
find?
sense.
No, no. I like for sure a tragedy, as it's kind of called in literature, where the overarching story is a tragedy, with a sad ending. It can still be, um, have such jubilation and celebration of life. And we get into the whole concept of a memento mori, with, because it is brief, life is beautiful, because there is a finite nature to it. Because if there was infinite, if there was if you were literally going to live until the heat death of the universe, then it would be like you've got no pressure to do things with your life. It would be like, okay, we have so much to do that we don't know what to do with it. And there's something beautiful about that scarcity in a way. And similarly, in the midst of an epidemic, there is definitely. So I just want to touch upon, do you feel like in LARP you want to move away from the current situation of the world? Like, if you are generally feeling quite low, would you prefer to have a LARP that's a bit more uplifting? Conversely, if you were going through a particular trauma in real life, whether that's through, let's say, a viral pandemic, um, maybe you would want to have a LARP that's not about that thing, or would you want to, on the other hand, embrace it?
I think it's a complicated question. Most of the online labs that I've played acknowledge one way or another in their diagesis the actual pandemic. Either it fits a lab that is set 100 years into the future, where the pandemic style life is is the new normal, or whether it's just, hey, it's COVID-19 and we can't see each other, so we are doing an online self therapy instead of a real peer group.
Hmm.
In case of online lab, and I find for myself the setting very interesting and very helping, because I saw through it that I could make real connection to people, even so we were away. So it was, for me, it was uplifting. But when it comes more generally about LARP, it depends of the subject. When it's very close to home, very close to my own narrative, I don't want to focus on trauma exactly. I want to steer the narrative towards something more hopeful.
Hmm.
At least this is what I do with my writing. When I write LARP, I'm like, okay, this is, for example, a trauma that I have or something that is an issue in society. Let's acknowledge this issue and steer the narrative toward solution, toward hopefulness, toward building community.
And Dina wanted to ask you one last question. So, are you looking for intense connections and deep character play?
Absolutely. I can also play for fun and I add, but most of the time I'm going, and this is not like what everybody need to do. This is what me I'm looking for, and I knowledge that if you want to play just for fun and staying very away from your character, you can and you should, because everyone should do what they want. LARP is diverse like that. But for me, I'm really about intense play and connection and getting into character deeply, steering a lot of emotion, looking for a lot of thing, and being 100% in the game.
Now, that's the end of the questionably quick questions. I would like to now get to the main topic, which is basically what I imagined this being is almost a quick overview of what is LARP and just a general chat about it, specifically with the kinds of LARP that you make. I hoped that next week maybe we could just talk about safety in LARP, because safety in LARP is so important that it deserves its own topic. But before we just say, but because it is so important, um, maybe we should, before we move on, talk for 2 minutes about why is safety in LARP an important thing and what is going on with it. I mean, basically it's about these emotions are so intense and sometimes people are having triggering experiences. If you are, and you might want to mute this for about 10 seconds, but it, this is like simulations of violence. Actually, I'm just going to put it in that thing. If someone's simulating violence upon you, that can almost remind you of actual violence that was committed upon you. And for someone, for example, maybe this could be intensely triggering. But for someone else, even it's not just about that. It's also about the journey that your character goes through. Because I have played a LARP where my character was a translator for a big um, intergalactic superpower who was invading a country, and so I basically had to almost work for the invading forces. And it is obviously an allegory for real world situations, where eventually the intergalactic forces pulled out and I was just stranded and my family was being killed and it was horrible. And in that situation, if you really get into the LARP, you do, I'm not going to say suffer, but you do experience what is known as bleed, where, I mean, this is kind of what a good story is. When a character in the story is going through a joyful moment, you, as an individual, as a reader, as a watcher of a film, should be happy. Well, I say should, but you do you. And if there's a tragedy, if someone's having a horrible moment on screen or in a book, then you're probably going to be a bit upset. And it's even more intense when you are playing through that yourself. And sometimes you are crying and it's like, oh no, it's okay. I'm still mentally okay in real life, even though I'm crying. It's okay.
Yes.
And sometimes it's like, okay, let's go over. And yeah, so do you have anything to talk about for just a couple of minutes about
It's
safety and LARP?
complicated in just a couple of minutes, but safety in LARP is important because in order to be vulnerable and in order to be intense and 100% somewhere, you need to feel safe, and you need to feel not only safe from the the outside possible issues and violence and the inside possible issues and violence. And once you feel safe from, you can feel safe to explore, safe to be vulnerable, safe to perform things. For me, safety is essential in LARP because this is what safety is what enables LARP to be transformative, to be a wonderful experience, to reach its true potential, to be something that will change your life and change yourself. I don't know if that answers this question about why safety is so important in LARP. But because we play with our body, with our emotion, with our mind and soul, we are highly vulnerable, we are highly raw when we play a LARP. And we should treat this kindly. We should acknowledge this vulnerability, and instead of answering it with harshness and with, oh, but it's just your character, you can deal with it, blah blah blah, you are a human, adult stuff, we should say, okay, this was a strong emotion, this is draining, have a rest. If you wish, in the safety room we have cookies and tea and fresh orange juice. And if you need to cry for a minute on someone's shoulder, it's okay. Crying is not weakness, crying is the emotion that says sadness, and crying is the emotion that says, hey, it's over now.
Yeah,
This was me talking about safety and
no,
being my usual, blah blah blah. We should be kind, blah blah. Take care,
no, you put it
honesty.
beautifully. I agree with Dina, and I think that again, this deserves its own entire conversation. So let's just we can agree on the importance of safety, and it's because of the importance of it that we're not going to talk any more about it today, if that feels fair.
That feel fair.
Okay. So looking at the questions that I basically wrote, what is LARP? Can we define it? Live action role playing. I guess there's role playing on a board where you're, at its most basic sense, if I'm around a table and I say my character does this, that is one kind of role playing. If I say I am doing this, that is a little bit more involved. But with a LARP, I don't say my character does that. I just do the thing myself.
Yeah, LARP is highly performative because most of the time you are not describing your action, you just do it. sometimes you take a bit of time calibrating with your other player, saying, by the way, I'm going to play a scene where my character has a total meltdown and become very violent and insult everyone. Is that okay with everybody? And then you do it. So yeah, it's highly performative. You usually do the thing.
Um, this will be. Please keep your questions about safety for next Monday when we'll be exploring that fully. Just because organized LARPs, normally my understanding is they don't currently have the budget for actual professionals. Is that correct?
Yes, but I actually have an answer about that I can give next week. So if we can just like take note of this question, I have way to answer that next week and
Yep.
provide
And
information.
there are definitely some people who can be parts of it. And some places will have more budgets. It's super important, but if we can just get to that, will definitely be a question that we will try to remember for next week. Um, Now, with LARP, you don't actually have to be even walking around. If you are sitting down and you're just sitting at a table, but you are role playing two people sitting at a table and you're talking to each other, so you don't say, my character shouts at you, you actually shout. And I'm going to
Yes.
mute myself. Sorry, mute off. So that kind of you scream and then you instead of saying oh my character laughs at you, you have to perform, you have to laugh at the other person if you think your character would laugh, even if it's like
Yes.
and but it so what is the minimum amount of effort that you have to put into something for it to be a real LARP?
This is a tricky question in my mind. Uh, Not that much of effort. I think it's very easy to turn something into a LARP because we could decide like we after the stream we could decide we have a LARP, you and me, that I don't know. For example, one of my friend has done a LARP that is two-person. One is a robot, the other is a student, and the robot, the android, asks the student, "Explain me what sex is." And for
Hmm.
those who might be interested, the LARP is called Naive. It's a LARP by Axel Kaznov, and you can find it on their website, larpinprogress.org, I think. So, minimum requirement for playing Naive is one person playing an android with, for example, a pair of glasses, sunglasses, so you don't see
Hmm.
the emotion in the android eyes, and another person playing the student. That is part of the experiment.
I mean, Dina makes an interesting point that LARPing is kind of like how, even in our real life, anyone might do masking to play a role. Like in.
Indeed, Dina. Indeed. That's exactly what my articles in Knudpunkt talk about, because it's an article on neuroatypical player.
And so let's get into the second question, which is what is a Nordic LARP? Because that is your preference, right?
It's yes. Yes. There might be some of my friends watching and they'll be like, yes, we know, LolV. Stop pretending you're a buffer LARPer. You are not anymore. I'm still a buffer LARPer. I
Oh,
just play
sure, you
buffer
can
LARP
enjoy
in
other
a
things.
Nordic way, you know. I'm in a buffer lab and I'm like there intensively, and other people are on that level of intensity, and I'm like flying high because I'm still in Nordic mode.
I think that there can be many things as part of your identity. For example, I would still consider myself, a dancer and a writer, even though I've not danced for quite a while and I've not written for a while. It's still can be part of your identity, and I can still say yes, I really enjoy a bunch of Quentin Tarantino movies. I really enjoy
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction and a lot of Kill Bill. That was ultra violent. Obviously, it's very unsuitable for the family, but there's I've not seen any of them for several years now. I've not seen the past film or two. I don't feel the need to go out and watch a film by this director as soon as it comes out or anything. But it's still something that I enjoy. And by the same token, you can enjoy buffer LARP, and it sounds like you do, even though but your preference, and we maybe what is Nordic LARP? What defines Nordic LARP, would you say?
So at the very basic, Nordic LARP is a style of LARPing that come from Nordic countries, and it's a kind of LARP that focus a lot more of in character play and emotion and intrapersonal connection and extrapersonal connection. It's important
Um,
to be intrapersonal connected to your own feeling. Don't laugh at me.
no, I'm laughing at the chat because they're having a whole thing. So I don't normally show it if it's yeah, kind of on a tangent, but just so Dina says, I really love. So you are a dragon now.
And
I
they
am a
are playing
dragon.
it.
Can I fly? Jumps off sofa. Nope, cannot fly. You may not be able to fly just yet. You're becoming one. Dragon puberty takes time. I hope I don't start smoking. I'm allergic to smoke. This may cause some issues. Teenagers often start smoking. You will soon gain control over it, but if you have any issues with it, let us know. Then Sate starts coughing, apparently.
Oh, it's amazing. Thank you for preventing, for not showing it while I was explaining because I couldn't have keep a straight face. Even so, I don't intend to be straight in any way. May I remind you? Yesterday, at some
Um,
point, you said we'll go straightly from there, and I was like, I'm not straight. I can stop. I have something to prove when it comes to my queer identity. I think more like just to remind you.
I
But
don't
well,
think you have anything to prove.
yes, I
Um,
know. But the thing is, Nordic lab is intense and
hmm.
it focuses on extrapersonal connection, interpersonal connection. It
And the thing,
focuses on strong emotion, on long character sheets, but not always. And it's really focused on storytelling also, much more than doing stuff. It's also how do we tell a story together? Doing that gesture when I'm speaking about community.
I was going to say, do you think that there needs to be an element of realism to make it Nordic LARP? Because if something is fantastical, can it still be Nordic LARP?
Yes, but that's my own opinion. Maybe it's debatable. I'm not aware of everything going on in the community, but I think you can, of course, you can make a deep Nordic LARP about the fact that you are a fae and the world is going to end for the fae and so you are seeing the magic disappear. And so, of course, you are playing of intense emotion, intense interpersonal connection, deeply deep in character stuff.
Now, so it sounds like this is really all about the emotional amplitude, like the intensity of the emotion is what makes Nordic LARP Nordic LARP.
Yes. Also about how do you fit this emotion and this character in the stories that you tell with other people. LARP is really all about telling a story with others, I think.
And Dina suggests Orc in the Well is a brilliant Nordic LARP. Sorry, I'm not getting my consonants out properly today. A brilliant Nordic LARP about an orc who had fallen in a well and knows he will die there. That
This is
sounds
so
intensely
sad.
sad. Yeah. I guess you don't know this one either.
No, I'm not very aware of every lab. The thing is, it's a very, very diverse hobbies with a lot of people writing, so it's absolutely impossible to know everything going on at the moment. And
Mm,
I feel highly privileged because I know several people who are getting who are getting a lot of social capital in lab. So I'm being a bit more in the community this year that I've been let's say the past 2 years.
I wanted to touch upon what you've. I do want to explore very quickly, like how you got into LARP, why you love it. Um, I want to explore because this is ostensibly board game blether. I would like to relate it to board games in some way. So there's probably more board games in the world than LARPs, I guess. Like
Maybe.
certainly
I
board games,
don't
it
know.
feels like it can be a if you see it as a source to make money or income, there's definitely more of a business with board games than LARPs. Um, Feels like parts of that might be because LARPs are quite difficult to run, if you know what I mean. It takes a lot of
Yes.
energy, and for the facilitators, you have to make up a lot of rules almost on the fly, whereas board games are generally more structured, let's say. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Because lab got the ultimate chaos element, human interaction,
Um,
in the fact that
how
we don't have the medium of the board game to deal with the other person.
hmm, and that is what gives it its intensity in some ways. That you are sure there are methods to deal with when you want to shoot someone. I played a LARP where you are allowed to kill people in the game, like halfway through, and basically, if you want to have a fight, then you play rock paper scissors quickly, and then you kind of pause the game just for you to. Everyone else carries on, but you sort of say, okay, we're having a fight. I strike a punch, and then it rock paper scissors, and then you decide kind of what is a suitable method of, okay, I've punched this person, and then suddenly once we've done the rock paper scissors, I'm like, wow, you punched me, and then they get knocked out. They literally fall down, and everyone thinks, oh, Bez's character just punched this other person's character, and they know it's not real, but it gives it an emotional severity that you actually see the person falling down and screaming. It can be also more disruptive because you need to find a place where you are allowed to shout, for example.
Yes. As I think Alex Uten has a very interesting question. I don't know if I can show the question to you.
Yes, are there any solo LARPs?
Yes, there are. There is a joke going on in the Nordic LARP community about the fact that a Finnish person only need a closet to play a LARP, so they lock themselves in the closet and play a LARP all alone. I think I don't completely get the joke, but I think it's to talk about the repetitions that Finnish players have to be gloomy, I guess,
Hmm.
and gloomy, dark. I don't know. The Finnish people I met are LARPers, so they are very, very bright and kind people, not very gloomy at all. And a LARP closet, you only need a closet, like a little room to play by yourself. And Dina is agree with me.
Yes, I think that it saying that Finnish people are dark or like to be. I'm not sure what it means, but can you give us a couple of examples of solitaire LARPs and how that would even play? What does that mean? Because you're not interacting with anyone. Are you just going through life pretending? But maybe does that become kind of like playing a role, but you go through the world, or do you play a role in your own private space?
You can do both. I'm aware. I don't have a lot of example because I never remember the name of everything. But one of my friend wrote a lab called Python to Pita, Python to Python or Python, and it's a lab about it's an autoerotic lab where you are listening to recording and transforming during the lab. So it's both a LARP and an autoerotic experience. It's very interesting. I didn't play it yet, but I intend to do it at some point because it seemed interesting. I'm aware that a friend of mine has written a LARP that you can play on a bus on London where you are pretending to be a pirate. So you have
You're sailing through
to
the
ride the
streets
bus.
and
You have to ride the bus in London, pretending you are on your pirate ship and be like, "Hey, hey, we are
but
going
wouldn't that
to
be
raid
potentially
it."
disruptive to other passengers? Because we do always have to be mindful to those around us, and it gets into the disruption factor of a LARP. When you bring a LARP from a private space into a more public space, we do have to be mindful, of course, about those around us.
I'm not aware of the exact rule of the game, but since my friend is a pretty kind human, he probably wrote rule about don't disrupt other passenger in or only if they interact with you, you can explain that you are indeed a pirate riding a pirate ship, and they need to be mindful of the fact that they don't step into the water and stuff like that, and they better learn how to swim. I need to ask more question about that solo lap
I mean, I'm not
uh,
planning to get
pirate
onto
ship
the
because
bus
I want to
anytime
play
soon.
it.
It still feels um, like certainly an unnecessary risk to take right now. But under normal situations, like certainly 7 months ago, I would be interested to, yeah. I mean, again, there's so, because this is almost like the tangents. Now it's no longer the busy board game blether. It is LARP blether, and it's kind of uncovering this whole new avenue of let's talk about, yeah, disruption. I
It's already 1 hour.
yeah, and but like just these are all sorts of things that we could talk about, like having LolV like has an irregular LARP expertsy person. And when I
I'm
say,
not an expert.
I'm
I'm an
calling you an
expert.
expert, you're an expert relative to me.
Okay, only
Relative
because
to me.
it's relatively. Because
Yes, okay.
people like Laura or Mo who are like LARP expert from my position.
Okay, maybe I'll reach out to Laura and Mo, and actually that would be really cool because for those who don't know, Laura Wood and Mo Holkar are two people, and apparently are now an international expert. But Laura Wood and Mo Holkar um, put together the Smoke, which is, I think, Britain's first Nordic LARP festival. Is it really? It's certainly London's first one. I mean, first
Yeah.
repeating one. Um, and Mo does professional murder mystery games, which is really interesting to me. Laura and Carolina Soltis do a lot of work. They're lovely friends. Um, and hopefully, I might reach out to them. I imagine Laura might have some, not want to come to chat publicly. Because but yeah, all of them, if you are up for, if you're interested, any of you, if you're watching, you're definitely welcome to come onto the show. And also, but let's talk about let's have some more quick questions. How did you get into LARP? You were talking to me beforehand about real life conventions, how you go around and then you stumble upon things and you maybe walk into a seminar. Tell me the story.
So I knew LARP existed because I was already doing role playing, and one time my girlfriend went to LARP. It didn't work out for her. She didn't have as much fun as she thought. But the next thing we know, we were in a convention. It was a geek convention in Toulouse called the Toulouse Game Show, where there is manga, cosplay, art, goodies, so a lot of things surrounding nerd and geek um, expressions and words. And I was working by a panel and I saw videos. So I stopped, of course, because my eyes get caught by that. And since it was a convention, I tend to feel very tense and stressed because there are a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of light. So I tend to stop every few panel to recharge and talk a bit with people and try to feel my way. Most people know it, but I'm autistic, so sometimes loud plays with a lot of people are triggering for me and difficult to handle. And so I realized it was video of people in costume talking, and so I start talking with the people who were holding the panel behind the video, and they were making a YouTube show about LARP called Shitty LARPs, and they were basically it was basically a YouTube channel following the adventure of three friends making every mistake when they made LARP. So it was both enjoyable because it was funny, but it was also a testimony of what to do and what to not do when you organize both a LARP. So
That
it was very interesting.
sounds like a really nice introduction. And the final question is, how does the playtesting and playing of LARP relate to board games? I mean, I wrote down that there's a question. Um, LolV, have you actually how would you say that the playing of LARP and playtesting and designing of LARP relates to board games? I mean, let's say, yeah, I'll leave that question open.
Well, when you are writing a LARP and you are integrating in the LARP, implementing mechanism in the same way that you do with game mechanism in a board game, you need to playtest it because when you are so in something that you are making, you don't know, you lack the focus, and you know you are so focused on it that you lack the perspective to see if it is uh, working. So you need to play test it, and you do it the same way that you do it with a board game. That means you bring people to or you invite people to play test this with you. Yeah, I'm doing a series on hands.
And this, so sorry for the distraction. If you want to go to Instagram, LolV can be followed on specifically Sparkly. And just flicking through some of the pictures that you would see if you go there publicly. So I think it's yeah, so many parallels. It's all about that iteration. It's all about working to think about the people who are playing. What will they think? Making something that suits them, and that same emotional awareness and building up of empathy for the players and consideration, and the safety mechanisms that Gil Hova actually made a set of safety cards for recently. Yeah, basically a little check-in card inspired by LARP, where before you play a board game, it says, hey, how much energy do you have? And then people say how much energy they have. And then the second question is, how much do you want to win or lose by? How serious do you want to play the game? And then people put the finger on. And so that's
Like that.
It is a quick way to explain, okay, are we all on the same level? Are we all check being mindful of each other? And there's so many mechanisms that have been generated from LARP, sports, video games, traditional tabletop RPGs, puzzles. All these things can be, considered alongside board games, and it all does 100% relate. And yeah, we've got follows. To wrap up, Sate says they used to do murder mystery dinners to make money. Games, theatres, and food. It was best thing. Don't like being asked to rank their game style and interest before a game. When that happened the first time, it made me really self-conscious. That's a fair thing. I mean, we could have a talk for sure about, because it's a difficult question, isn't it? You want to check in with other people, but even that revelation of the information might be a bit. I guess the notion is that if it's a simple card and everyone's like, okay, how are you feeling? And everyone shows a number on their same card, then everyone's doing exactly the same thing. So it's like, okay, if I'm a bit tired, I'm going to be like, yeah, relatively, I'm a number 2. So there would be like numbers here that you hold your finger on. And then on the other side, there's numbers that you hold your finger on. I don't know if that would help your slight reservations and your self-consciousness. If it would, the fact that everyone else is doing it, I don't know if that would help, but yeah. And Orc in the Well, the thing that was mentioned earlier, it was written apparently 10 to 11 years ago by Maya Papaya. But
thank you.
I think it's time for us to start wrapping up, because I do want to move towards generally slightly shorter things if I can, as I'm aware that the world is changing, people are doing things, and I think to be respectful of people's time and try to fit it all into within 90 minutes. So to recap, what is LARP? I mean, it's basically when the actions that you do are the actions that the character does, or the words that you say are, there's a one-to-one exact relationship between the words that you say and what your character would say. Do you think that's a fair definition?
I think that's a fair definition. It's storytelling where you are embodying the character and you are doing the different interaction and action.
And how would you define Nordic LARP? You mentioned um, the emotional intensity. Is there anything else?
I think Nordic LARP has the tendency to choose a subject to explore that are deep and more serious most of the time. But not only, I said serious in the fact that they are explored seriously, but they can still be fun and mind lifting subject, but they are explored intensely and seriously.
And if we want to talk about why you love LARP, I mean, even though I don't play LARP as often as I would like, I have an awareness that when you do have that one to one relationship, if you've got someone literally shouting at you, there's a real intensity. I mean, but you still know that you're in a safe space because you still know that behind that shouting, there is hopefully a caring individual. And there are safety measures in place that we will talk about next week. But it is so intense, and there's such a diversity of experiences for me. I mean, oh my gosh, I've played games where I have really thought about, human relationships or about the nature of androids and human consciousness, about all sorts of things from, and it gets really deep. What are some reasons that you love Nordic LARP specifically, or LARP in general? It's up to you.
I love telling a story from a perspective that isn't mine. I love to explore perspectives that could have been mine in LARP. LARP is a lot about shifting focus and perspective, and I love to be able to do that. And this is a potential important and useful mean and tool to teach and to share. And I love that about LARP.
And LARP isn't always a brilliant thing. I mean, there can be some ways that something might go wrong. I guess that just falls into the safety, doesn't it?
Yes. There is a safety, there is issues with accessibility, there is an issues with the cost of certain LARP. There is an issue with the fact that LARP can or will be in the future commodified and made only commercial. But I don't want to get into the old mainstream versus alternative binary. But yes, there is the issues of safety. If because LARP can be so intense because you are playing with our body and our emotion. If something goes wrong, whether the people did it voluntarily or because it was a mistake, an honest mistake, you can still injure people self-confidence or feeling deeply.
And yeah, I think this is it's like the more emotional something is, the more we need to think about the emotional safety and well-being of those who are playing. But any activity that we do, it is so important to remember that hey, um, yogi is terribly inaccessible to a lot of people, and even Yogi Stock Guru, um, when I was talking about walking from one side of the room to the other, and Sate reminded me even that trip, if you are really struggling to walk, that can be a problem that makes it inaccessible. So it is so important to think about accessibility for literally everything that we do. And how can people enjoy LARP the best?
I think an Valkyrie Dina summit, I think you shouldn't hesitate to look to and ask the community to help you when you are a beginner LARPer, when you are someone who is confused about what to do in LARP. You can rely on the community and hope that this community will help you and provide for you. This is something that has amazed me. Sometimes I had to go to LARP and I lack the costume or lack the knowledge about the specific things that I was supposed to play, and I ask in my local community, and people provide costume and people provide knowledge and people took time to teach me, to reach me, to help me. And this is really amazing. And LARP is a community. LARP as a community of LARPer really has the potential to be a great big family. It's always complicated, of course. Family matter are sometimes toxic and difficult, but still, it has this wonderful, wonderful potential. So my tips is reach for your community, inform yourself, check with yourself, is that lab for me? If not, you will find a lab that will work for you. But don't force yourself into a lab that isn't accessible for you, that could be triggering for you.
Those are some amazing tips. I mean, yeah, there is so much. I think in a lots of communities, whether it's dance, whether it's is knitting, whether it's board games, there are people who are. I mean, once you get a bit more professional, if you look at the board game industry versus the toy industry, there's such a difference in attitude. One is a lot more hesitant to show things off because certainly in the toy industry, there's this feeling of, well, these things could make millions. These things could, they are it's just such a bigger business, and so there becomes more hesitation of, oh my god, someone else might be making a thing. Whereas if you look at hobby board games, let alone LARP, it's like kind of, yeah, I'm making this kind of new time mechanism that's going on in my Euro game. If you want to use it, you go ahead. And there's a bit more sharing of information. There's a bit less ego involved, let's say. And also, people, if you're just wanting to play, there are so many people who are like, yeah, especially with hobby board games or with LARP, it's quite likely you will be able to reach out directly to the people who are making these amazing things. Um, yes, I love this.
Yeah, sharing
And
is caring.
it's all about being aware that there are people who love this worlds that they are within so much that they want other people to do it with them. And there are things, I guess, even knitting, which you think of as a solitary activity. Yes, you have knit and stitch or stitch and whatever circles. You where people maybe get together to do some knitting and then they chat and that's just something that they do. But you also get more people who are just knitting and doing things on the side, but they want to share those creations with other people. They want to make it for someone else. And oh wow, apparently Finland has a knitting festival with heavy metal music. And this is the kind of thing that you just want to bring in other people to say, hey, if you're interested, then have you checked out this? Have you checked out this? And finding out, as LolV said, is this a LARP for you? I mean, do you have any tips for beginner LARP, or do you think that anything can be a beginner LARP? Does it
Um,
depend on the
I
person, like what they're looking for? Or are there some that
yes,
it's okay, this is a bit more complicated than others?
I think some LARP are a bit complicated than others. I was amazed to see first-time LARPer at Just a Little Loving this summer, for example, because this is such an intense experience and the setting is so peculiar. The 80s in the middle of the AIDS epidemic is such a powerful and peculiar setting that I was amazed to see first-time LARPer. But I think it can still be played as a first-time LARP. It's just wow, way to begin in a hobby. But otherwise, I think I think a lot of LARP can be first time LARP, as long as you try to, yes, to inform yourself on the rule of what is expect from you, what you can expect, to be sure you are not disappointed or in the middle of something you can't handle.
I think this is it. It's not that anything is wrong for someone. I mean, I don't think there's the same system of, okay, once you've learnt worker placement, then you will be able to play a game that mixes worker placements with set collection and 10 other mechanisms. It's not as if it's necessarily um, more information to take on board or more techniques. I mean, yes, you need to be aware of the notion of yes and for sure. You need to, um, but it is about being aware, because if you really enjoy intense experiences, and for two of my housemates, their first ever LARP experience was something that I helped Sarah Jury with. We play tested it in King's College London, and it is all about. Oh my gosh! So this is a bit triggering. If you're potentially, it's about transphobia, and it's about gender identity, and so there's, I think there were 5 countries. Each country had between 5 and 8 actual humans playing in it. I think two of them were. It's been so long. It's been like March since I even thought about it, because okay, it's not happening. Put it out of my mind, if you know what I mean. But
Yes.
so some of the countries were really horrible to live in. Some of the countries were almost like this utopian paradise where everyone could just do whatever they wanted, and was exploring how would people behave differently in these different worlds. And I said to my housemates, I just want to warn you, this is going to be really intense, because it is simulating the kind of experiences that I know you have all the time. And then does I'm kind of going to be prepared for it. But I think that's the thing. Dina says, stay open and inform yourself. I mean, yes, it's all about informed consent. You don't just come up and play a game. Whether it's a board game, yes, especially with a LARP, because it can be emotional, but even with a board game, you want to have some awareness of what's going on before you consent to it. You want to know, okay, this is going to be mentally strenuous, or you want to know this is going to take 2 or 3 hours, or this is going to potentially make you cry. You want to know and connect with your mental health generally, and lean on your community. These are such wonderful words. Thank you, Dina, for that.
Yes. Dina summarized it perfectly. Thank you.
And so I think that finishes our recap. To wrap up, oh yes, one final thing. Someone asked when LolV will be back on, and yes, it will be next Monday. So there is a link that you can see at the top of my Twitter, and these are just all my streams. So LolV will be back on the 31st, and if I go forward, LolV will also be back on the 16th, we decided. And then I put a question mark on the 30th. Like that's kind of depending on how, LolV is feeling mainly.
Thank you.
But
Yeah. Say is saying Mount LolV. It's only until I get back to work then I had to find another day to come and talk to you all.
LolV will be back on Monday the 31st and then Wednesday the 16th. And so if I go back, so I want to say thank you to firstly everyone who's been in the comments and so lovely. I want to say thank you to Alex Aquasulis, Alan Oughton, Xate, Jay Foolsguard, and Dina. Such lovely people. And most importantly, thank you to LolV for being, for coming all over and just for generally being you, and also for I never explicitly said thank you for joining. Yeah, I don't think I thanked everyone at the end of all my streams yesterday, but thank you very much for coming and all the support and everything. It's been so lovely.
Thank you.
And if you want to find me, I am stuffbybez.bitcartel.com, where you can buy my stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbybez. I share a lot. Instagram.com/stuffbybez is pictures. Twitch.tv/stuffbybez is where I'm streaming. Facebook.com/thingsbybez is a thing. Stuffbybez@gmail.com is where you can email me if you want. And looking forward to hopes and ambitions. It's over to you for this final section. So I like to always finish off by talking about something we're looking forward to, even if it's something small, like maybe in the next hour,
Sorry.
maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, next week, whatever. So would you like to go first, or?
I don't. I think I can go first. I'm looking forward to have a lunch. I have in mind a specific meal, and I want to open my ice cream box and eat a bit of ice cream, vegan ice cream.
Wait, is your
That's
entire lunch just going to be ice cream, or?
No, it's going to be a Vietnamese meal.
Oh, tell us more. Tell us more. Come on.
Uh, it's
Tell me more. Tell me more. Do 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 do. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh
I
huh.
I love this song. Uh, it's specific technique of cooking vegetable with soy sauce and several spices. So I'm going to put carrot and onion and probably some other vegetables. I don't know the name in English. Sorry. But I'm going to cook that. So you use a lot of steam, and so the soy sauce burn and go into steam and then fall back because it's covered, fall back on the vegetable, and it's just so yummy.
Wow.
And
So
I want to
you're
have it with
I've heard of steaming things with water. So the water's rising, and then the heat of the steam cooks the vegetables. But you're talking about
yes,
steaming it with just soy sauce in the bottom compartment.
soy sauce and a bit of water still.
Okay, still a bit of
But
water.
yes,
That does sound. Man, I need to investigate this. Maybe I'll try it with like peas or something. Like how many parts soy sauce to how much water are we talking? Are we talking like half and half, or 1/10 soy sauce, or?
I said third of it.
Sorry.
A third of.
Oh, a third. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's really blown my mind. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. I'm
I
still
hope it
really.
works.
I'm not going to do that today. I've had an idea. You talking about vegetables, it reminded me that there is a broccoli in our communal shelf of the fridge, because we've got a communal shelf where, if we buy stuff, maybe someone buys a lot of chilies, it's up there or whatever. There is a broccoli. If it's still there, I'm going to take it, I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to fry that up, and that's going to be my lunch. Just fried broccoli with a bit of garlic, maybe with half a bulb, because I don't need to worry about having garlicky breath. Also, I'm oh my gosh, today I decided I'm not going to work very much. Like, I don't have any real obligations, although I'm going to try to catch up on the Twitter. I might write a bit, but I'm not giving myself any I need to get this done today. But it's going to be kind of things that I would have liked to do in the past. I am going to be talking to LolV a wee bit after this and saying bye. And then I'm going to also be talking about to this person that I met online recently. We might meet up one day. And I'm not going to share names because, maybe they don't want their name to be shared, but I'm excited to chat to them. And yeah, I'm going to also see Chris and McCall tonight, which I'm really excited by. I'm going to be able to see them and we're going to play probably some light games. I don't know what we'll play. I'll probably pick out a couple of games. Maybe Hippo, because it's right there on my table. And I've not played it in a while. And we'll decide how much we like it as a free player game. But yeah, that is so much to look forward to. And when I see Chris and McCall, we always have a distanced walk where we just walk around the park. McCall's got this really nice thing where they grounds everything. And yeah, we've got Dina hopes to finish the How to Play in Love in Calavella, hoping to submit it by Monday next week to Itch for the Game Jam. Oh, I forgot I was going to talk about to Xate as well. We were going to talk, weren't we, about Yogi Sokuru. Roasted broccoli is my favourite food. Maybe I should roast it. Are you saying I should chop it up and then put it in the oven? Maybe on a tray instead of frying it? Oh, and then I could just put the garlic in it. Oh, I like this. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is a good food
So
show.
many options.
Roast it with lemon, basil, salt, and pepper and parmesan. Oh, that sounds a bit too much for me. Like, yeah. Sending it to the graphic designer for artwork. Get ready for any feedback from the jam. Oh, so much to do with your LARP. Roasted broccoli is delicious in pie. No, that's too much. I wish there was a broccoli around here. Oh my god, I'm sorry. And thank you for the compliments. And looking forward to a Skype game with Mac, Jojo, and Rowan this afternoon. Awesome. So yes, there is so much to look forward to in the world, even in our current situation. And so that is that. If you have enjoyed this, please share, spread the word. My next streams can be seen at the link that I pasted. Tomorrow I'm doing a virtually expo debrief with Alan Oughton. Then 8 p.m. we are going to be playing some things. I've not decided what. Be talking to Phoebe Wilds, I think, and then to Colvin. And Friday will be a solo show where I'll probably be recapping my week because I think it's important to touch base and kind of talk about, how I'm doing and stuff sometimes. Then, anyway, there's so much. Go to that place. There's only one thing left to do for now. The one thing left to do is to say, sorry, do you have anything left that you wanted to give a quick shout out to?
No, just take care, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. The usual stuff.
Well, for now, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go.